My favorite manager in all of mixed martial arts. I love you, Tim Simpson, as well. Danny Rubenstein, Ruby Sports and Entertainment. Congratulations on another UFC World Champion. Happy birthday, my man. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
So I think you came on our show way back in the day. You're one of the guys who has listened to this podcast. I know you don't listen to it regularly anymore. Thanks a lot. But this is a guy who started listening to us all the way back in 2015. But you and I go way back. And so when Petr Yan broke through and gave you your first UFC World Championship, I was just so happy for you. And maybe even more so getting it done with Dricus Du Plessis. So congratulations. I guess I just wanted to start with how you and Dricus aligned, and how soon did you know that you might potentially have a UFC World Champion under the Ruby SE banner in Dricus?
So he was brought into Ruby from one of the other managers we work with, Yusuf Nassar. Yusuf used to be the matchmaker for Brave. He left Brave, and we had a relationship over there. So I was like, hey, like, if you're interested in staying in the sport, you know, I had this opening in the Middle East and Europe that we're looking for an agent over there to help bring in some talent. And he, you know, we had the conversations with Dricus and his team and everything. Went well. He signed. And very honestly, like, I think you kind of could see it even before he got in the UFC. He was 2-8 champion at EFC in South Africa. He was 2-8 champion in KSW in Poland. He had a win over Roberto Soldic, who everybody valued very high. Right. I think, you know, right away, I think we all kind of saw how good he could be. You know, obviously there's all the commentary of his herky-jerky style, and he's awkward. And I mean, honestly, he's just, you know, he's one of those like super talented guys that just finds ways to win, and it doesn't have to be perfect, you know? But yeah, it was nice to be in the building for that one. I wasn't able to be there for Peter's fight. I was in the hotel in Abu Dhabi. And like, I think Heather Linden came over to the room at like 5 a.m. and watched with me, and she's got some video of me jumping around somewhere.
Well, dude, like, what were your emotions like when Buffer was about to announce who won? How did you see it going, honestly? And yeah, well, what was that feeling like?
So it was funny. I was kind of more watching his dad, because it was his dad, his mom, his girlfriend, and myself sitting there, a front row. And I was watching his dad, and you know, when they read a split decision, they read Strickland first, and his dad was like, "Oh no, come on, no!" And he's like, and I was like, it was funny actually. Chael Sonnen and I were texting back and forth earlier in the fight, and he was like, Dricus won 3-2, but they're going to give it to Strickland, and I was like, fuck no. Personally, I saw it 3-2 pretty clearly. I didn't think there was that much argument in the rounds. You know, I think one, you give the Strickland, he did great getting the jab out there and won. And then I think when Dricus really started to push him backwards in 2, 3, and 4, like I thought those rounds were all pretty clear. Yeah. And very honestly, like round 5, like outside of the last minute, what did Strickland do?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you know, and I was, you know, talking to his girlfriend, and I was like, you know, she was super nervous. It was her first time at a fight. And after the first round, it was like, you know, I said, we lost that round. And then after the second, I was like, at 1-1. After the third, I was like, that's 2-1 us. Like, it's pretty clear. And then after the fourth, I was like, 3-1 us. Like, all he's got to do is not get finished, you know? And obviously, like, he went out there and fought in the first 4 minutes. I think Strickland did a good job of coming on late at the end. But I also don't know how you give him round 5 for just a minute of work. I don't know.
Yeah. It's all fair. I will say, though, seeing you in the octagon celebrating with them was just really special. For all of us who know you and know how you've gone about this the right way, and even some of your former clients that are super high profile when they moved on from you. And it wasn't because of you. It was just because of one reason or another, and you let them go and you give them your blessing. I just want to run through, Danny's, some of your high-profile clients right now. Petr Yan, Movsar Evloev, Rafael Fiziev, Arman Tsarukyan, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and of course now Dricus Du Plessis. To have done it the right way, the way you have done it, and to now have all this talent in all of these marquee divisions, you essentially have one, or in the case of lightweight, 2 guys who could contend for a world title. Not that you're stopping and smelling the roses, but have you allowed yourself to sort of appreciate yourself and what you've accomplished? Because I remember some of the lean years and some of the struggles to sort of get to this point, and now, whether you like it or not, you're on top of the world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, today will be going to dinner for my birthday, nothing crazy. Yeah, I mean, celebrate. We honestly, there's no time to celebrate. Like I'm already back into like doing stuff for Justin Taffa for 298,
Right.
and then Peter 299, and obviously we have Armand on 300, and very honestly, trying to hope Dricus is okay. That there can be some talks about maybe him headlining 300. So no,
Yeah,
just right back to work.
It's interesting when it comes to Dricus Du Plessis, and I'm not looking for you to break any news here. Obviously, he was on the Anik and Florian podcast on Monday. You can check out that exclusive on the DraftKings YouTube channel. But, both feet are banged up. The facial swelling subsided considerably from Saturday to Monday. But can you speak to like what the financial swing? I don't need numbers, but is it a huge swing for him fighting at 300 versus say 302 headlining the show on his own?
I mean, the contract's already done, right? Like we'd have to go back to Hunter and Mick and say, hey, let's have a conversation about him if he's going to headline 300. But yeah, I mean, I talked to Hunter after the fights, and he said, if we do decide to go with Dricus for 300, we'll sit down and get it sorted out and make sure he's happy with what we do. The UFC is great about it. Obviously, like they have their guys that they have their slots that guys fall into for normal contracts. This isn't a normal contract situation. So, yeah. I mean, I would imagine that 300, and obviously as a champion now gets pay-per-view points.
Right.
Headlining, I think just the number 300 alone is going to add, 250, 300,000 pay-per-view buys. Just the number. It don't matter who's on the card. So, obviously I think there's a huge incentive for him to be healthy and make a play to try to headline 300. Yeah, I mean, he wants to do it. We've had the talks. He wants to do it. It's just about making sure he's healthy. I think the belt and retaining his championship is more important than fighting on UFC 300.
No, I agree. All right, before we let you go, and you can certainly say no comment, but there are 3 or 4 possible opponents, I would think, for DDP, right? Fourth, I guess, would be Alex Pineda, because the whole notion that he can't make 85 again is totally foolish. He was a little bit strong-armed by the promotion even to move up to 205 pounds. So Pineda can make 85. Israel Adesanya seemingly is on the inside track lane right now. And then, of course, you have Khamzat Chimaev and a potential rematch with Sean Strickland. Any insight from you as to either who you'd prefer or who you think leads the dance right now in terms of having the inside track on that title shot for DDP's first defense?
I mean, preference-wise, I think it's Adesanya. I think there's heat between the two of them. They've already done all the lead-up to build the fight. I think he's who we'd all prefer as a team. Khamzat, I don't really think he's a middleweight. I think he's a welterweight that is lazy and can't make weight at 170 anymore. And Alex Pereira, I'd rather see Dricus go up and fight him at 205 and let's see if he can be double champ, right? I mean, there's all this. I don't love the whole double champ movement, but if that's the case, like I'd rather him go up and get the second belt than him defended at 85. And very honestly, like he wasn't going to call out Izzy if Izzy wasn't going to be ready. Like I hit up Izzy's manager, was like, hey, is Izzy going to be ready? We're going to call out Izzy if he's going to be ready. But if he's not going to be ready for 300, I don't want Dricus barking up the wrong tree, right? We'll call out Alex Pereira. He's right there in the octagon. So, they told me Izzy would be ready. So that was we talked as a team and that was a call out he made.
Yeah. Well, I hope it comes together. But you're dripping in class. So is the new champion. If you are a young fighter, can't emphasize enough how good an egg this Danny Rubenstein is. If you want to find him on the social channels at Danny Rube. Congratulations, my man. Got a lot of guys coming down the pike, and I think it's an eventuality that you're going to have a third undisputed UFC world champion, but we appreciate you getting Dricus for us on Monday, and happy birthday. How old are you, bro?
42.
You paused like a woman as if you were not liking the question.
No, yeah. 42. I mean, it is what it is.
You're the youngest guy in the room right now. Congratulations, buddy. We appreciate the time and look forward to seeing you in Anaheim, if not sooner.
Happy birthday, Ruby.
Congrats, bro. There he is, Danny Rube, with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, so there was some news in there, right? Because there were some rumblings that maybe Israel Adesanya wasn't 100%, but wise on Danny, right, to get that information before the call out. So I think that makes a lot of sense for UFC 300. All right, poll question of the week is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code AFPOD, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, so we asked the question this week, and Jay's going to chase those results for us. What will be the main event at UFC 300? And some fans were critical of the choices. And this is not on Kenny. This is really on me. But I had Dricus Du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya, Du Plessis versus Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev, or other. Now, the reason I did not include Kenny Du Plessis versus Strickland in a rematch was just because at his post-fight media scrum, Dana White suggested that there are legs for a rematch at some point in time. He is expectant that those two men would fight again, but they're not looking at a rematch right now. So when I heard that from Dana, it seemed like that was not going to be the headliner at UFC 300. So I did not include that as an option. I also did not include Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, although I think that fight has legs. So before I get to the results, Kenny, I mean, what are your expectations? I guess given what you heard from Danny Rube, you think it's going to be DDP and Izzy under the lights April 13th?
Yeah, definitely. Very smart on Ruby to do that. I think that's the fight to make. I think it's the biggest fight to make for sure.
Jay, what do the poll results say?
Yeah, that's the leader in the clubhouse. 51% Du Plessis versus Adesanya. Second is actually other at 27%. 14% Pereira versus Ankalaev, and 8% Du Plessis versus Pereira. Moving up.
So part of the reason why I did not include, what was the other fight that people, Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. So I didn't include that fight because I'm just not expectant that is going to be your UFC 300 headliner.
Correct.
Certainly, I think Leon's status is such that they could headline with that fight. But I mean, Bilal as well as anyone. It seems like the fans are a little bit lukewarm on that fight as a UFC 300 main event.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Leon is a enormous pay-per-view seller. Danny Rubenstein's point's very well taken that you're going to get 250, 300, whatever, however many extra buys you get just because of the number. But no, I don't. I envision that as a co-main event. Bilal and I have talked about that. I mean, certainly if it's in June, July, that could change some things. But on 300, it's hard for me to imagine Leon Edwards headlining it.
Yeah.